Hello, David. How you doing? It's. I guess you could probably call this a type of streamer. It's an old school fly. It's actually meant to um, mimic some really big stone flies in, where was it now? West Yellowstone. It's called a sofa pillow. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, it's kind of a big streamer. It's pretty. To start off with, we're going to do a red. It's supposed to be like a scarlet red, but this is the red I got. And you don't have to use special nice goose or turkey quills. I'm just using the several ends I have from making salmon flies, because we're just using it for the tail. So, and you want to take off sections that are going to be roughly about half of what your gap's going to be. I got these three. The first ones we're going to do are going to be on size, what is this? Probably size 8, I'm going to guess. There's just 3 hooks I have. Where'd they go now? Yeah, I just got like 3 random sized. They're even different from each other. I'm assuming they're size 8 on there that we're going to do it first, and then I got 6 size 6 kind of streamer hooks. I'm going to do the rest up on those. But I just don't have any real use or whatnot for these random ones. There's some vintage old like mustags. They're quite old, so I'm just going to use them. You don't have to take the tail feathers from left and right like I'm doing here. Since it is just tail, you can really take it and use it from wherever you want on the quill. You can even take them both from the same side, because you're not matching them in the same way that you'd match a wing. And I just used my tweezers to get a rough. Again, we're just going rough because this is just a. Actually, for rough, I got that pretty bang on. You guys can see that. Just rough sizing them together. That's a pretty good trick if you have. I mean, you can use almost anything on your fly tying desk. I used to use, and I don't have them out here, but the drafting, like a drafting compass, because that way you can hold it exactly to the right size and get all of your flies, you know, the right size. But one thing you can do is grab your tweezers, get roughly the right size that you need, flip the feather over, try and hold them in the same spot, and then your next one will be exactly the same size. On a lot of flies, when you're stripping off quill, especially if you're doing like a quill wing, it's going to be the length of the hook gap. So an easy way to do that is just to use the hook. You can either use a hook that's in your vise and poke it, or you can get an extra hook. I'll just show you guys here with one of these. Or you can just get an extra hook, because you're going to have more than one generally that are the same size. And here, I'll try and do it backwards so you can see what I'm doing. Let it rest on the shank of the hook, then pull it towards you. And it's going to poke through, and every time that will be exactly 1 shank width apart for every fly. So that makes your job a lot easier when you're matching wings up, because they're always going to be the same length. Quick little tip for you there. Yeah, if you want to go all pro style on it, then use a compass or something you can adjust to the right size for every fly. But you already got hooks on your bench. Oh, and before I used a compass, actually what I used to just use is just my scissors. Oops. And of course drop those on the ground, because we don't need to keep them in our hand. Always good to drop sharp objects on yourself. But yeah, downside of using something like scissors, although they do work fine, you just want to make sure that they're somewhat tight together so you can get the right distance that you're looking for. But downside is obviously that they're sharp and you can cut your quill instead of, you know, splitting it. But if you got some old like craft scissors laying around, you know, that are fairly tight still, that'll work just fine. Alright, let's get back to the fly. So, got our second quill, just gonna pop that off. Now this is an old pattern from when was it now? 40, is it 48? Yeah, 1948. It was originally tied by Pat Barnes. And he was actually imitating the orange stoneflies that they have up there in Yellowstone. I'm just going to put these two that I showed you earlier together, just like we would a quill wing. It's just going to be much shorter, or sorry, much thinner. I guess you could have some quill wings that are a quarter or half your gap length, but generally speaking, they're about a gap width. And you can use your beat up. You can use your beat up stuff. I do have this one here if I get to it, which is still in somewhat good shape, that I can use for salmon streamers, but if we don't get that far, I'll save that for salmon. For the length on this, it's going to be fairly long, but we want, since it's a streamer hook, we're not going the whole gap length, so we're going to say 2/3 maybe. Bring that out. I want to tie it directly on top of the hook, so we're going to bring our wrap up, down, so we're doing a soft wrap. We got no tension on the line. It's going to be coming straight down, and then we're just going to bring it right down on top of the hook. And we're going to do one more soft wrap on top just to hold it in place, and then we'll look and make sure that we got it where we want it. I bumped that, kind of messed that back part up. Oop, don't jump on me. I think it was in position better there after I bumped my bobbin, because we only got 2 wraps holding it in. Yeah, that looks like it's on. See if I can get a camera right angle for you guys. There you go. You see that's right on top. I did hit that kind of back a bit from where I wanted it originally, so I'm actually gonna redo that and just move it back a hair, instead of just, originally what I was gonna do is just tie that back a bit. And basically just, you know, tighten my thread to the just past. Boop. Yeah, just past the hook point, or the hook. Terminology is leaving my brain today. Just past the barb. That's what I'm talking about. So we're just gonna do that one more time here. Soft wrap up. Pinch between your fingers. Most important thing is to bring the line back down to the bottom, same point on both sides so that they're compressed together. Pinching the feathers, tightening down, holding, and getting your second wrap in there. My second wrap jumped a little bit, so we're just going to move that back, but I think we're happy, especially after I wrap that more than once. There it be. I'm getting a little bit of thread coming off on me here, but that's okay. We're going to wrap the body up. This is a brand new spool, so I think I should have probably just taken a good couple feet off the spool before I started tying. We are using Uni 8-aught. What are we here? 8-aught or 6-aught? Uni 6-aught. In camel brown. Any brown thread is the classic one to use. If you don't have brown, feel free to use whatever color you want. Alright, we're going to be tying on a fairly big hair wing on this, so I'm going to use this to build up the body a bit. If you don't want to, or you're short on quill material, you can definitely cut this off here and use this as your next quill set, and then just cut them back to form a nice V on them. Nothing wrong with that. You can get probably 2 or 3 flies out of one quill if you got a nice big quill like this one. But we're just going to use it to build the body up. I'm going to cut it about 2/3 mark where I want the body to stop. Now I'm just going to be a little gentle on the thread here because I do have a little fray there, but it should bury itself in here. And we should be good to go. There we go. That'll just build up a little bit of body. A little bit of body for us. Hey, Glacier Shark. It's all about quality, mate, not quantity. Got 2 awesome people in here that's better than 40 I don't know. This is a really nice kind of crimson antron that I picked up. It's like got a super shine to it. The traditional pattern is a scarlet wool. I'm just using this antron because it's the closest I got to a scarlet in a wool. Shortly after he came up with this pattern, he switched it over to a red floss. So if you have red floss, feel free to use that as well. But today we're using this guy. And I've used this stuff as a red floss because it's pretty much is. It's a 3-strand. I'm not going to actually take it apart for this fly. Actually, I'm lying. I'm going to take 1 strand out because I don't have any separate. There's one trick I'm going to use here for this one. So there's 3 strands. I'm just going to be gently pulling it apart. Hopefully it doesn't twist up on me too better. but I need one separate strand for this trick. There we are. We're going to try this first one with tying it with double strand just to save some wraps. I think it'll be perfectly fine because this stuff lays really flat just like a floss. And I'm going to start it in this direction here. And then back it up. Main reason I'm doing this is because with floss bodies you want to double wrap them. And if you don't do this little trick in the back here, you'll end up with... they like to creep down on the end of the hook, so you'll end up basically pushing your tail down. But you can fix that by taking a single strand, and you can even do this with it doesn't have to be the same material as long as you got something the same color. You could use thread, you could use flash, you could use foil ribbon, crystal flash, don't really matter. But what we're going to do is we're going to tie this in. This part's a little finicky because you got the other material going the other direction. It's kind of always in your way. Actually, in hindsight, I probably should have tied that one in first. It would have made my life easier, so let's go ahead and do that quick. I normally do it this direction, but I'm just had a thought that if I go the other way, the back one won't actually be covered up, so I'll give that a try. Maybe I'll actually start tying it backwards. Sorry for the delay, but if this works, this will be a lot less pain in the butt. So you want to end this on top of the fly, and you want to end it just before the tail wraps. Oh yeah, this is going to be much, much better. The other thing you can do is if you are using a single strand that I've done on numerous flies is you can just literally tie it in the middle of the hook. So you got one strand going out either way. So your wrapping strand is going to be the one towards your eye of your hook, and then your over wrap is going to be the back one. But in this case, we're just going with a single strand on one side and double on the other. Otherwise, you could do it exactly like this. Single strand in each direction. I'm just going to making sure not to put too much pressure where the quill is so we don't change its direction. But you want to give it some good wraps in the back there because this is going to get pulled on pretty good. You also want to make sure the material that you've used for this back, call it a backlash because I'm not sure what the actual term for that would be. They use them quite commonly on East Coast salmon flies for tying the back of the butt. Same method. Because your butt colors typically will do the same thing and like to wrap down and push the feathers out of the way. So in this case, we're just going to wrap this in. Yeah, this is going to be a zillion times more convenient. Okay, cool. I'll do the rest of mine that way too. Then I'm only flicking this a handful of times and not several dozen to go all the way to the end of the hook. Okay. So you want to leave a good amount there for the hackle. This fly has a good chunk of hackle on it. The original pattern calls for several saddle hackles, so good chunk. Just gonna get some of my spin off my bobbin here because we tied that up pretty good. So our overwing's gonna be about. Well, that twisted up good on me, didn't it? The overwing's gonna be about a third of the front of the fly, so roughly about where I made this notch here. Not sure if that's coming up on there, but you can see there's a little dip. So I'm going to be wrapping back, but our overwing is going to be on this ledge, and then our hackle is going to be from about here to the head, just after the overwing. The overwing is going to be a fox squirrel. Oops. What left I have of it is a nice red fox squirrel. It's supposed to be a nice luscious fly. That's why they named it after a sofa pillow. Oh, I didn't even grab any hackle. Okay, I'm gonna have to do that. Might have to move the camera to get the hackle. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, though. Okay, I'm just gonna tie this off before we go. Wow, this really likes to wrap on my thread today. Stop. Okay, if you can't behave, you're gonna go on the material clip. There you go. Yeah, it's got a good bit of red on it. Yeah, traditionally the bug it's supposed to be imitating is orange, but they just found that the red just ended up working better, so they went with the red. That is the traditional pattern. Again, he changed from red wool to red floss after a couple of years of fishing it, probably because of just a little bit more shine to it. I do want to leave that little bit of a notch there for me to help with the hair wing. And I probably should be rotating this with the vice rotation, but we're going with it. Just gonna hand wrap it. Hopefully your side looks as pretty as my side. Yeah. Okay, and then we're not gonna get too close to the tail. Okay, I'm twisting it just a hair. There we go. And that's exactly what the floss likes to do, is push down on that tail, cause it to bend down to the hook after a couple fish or half dozen casts. So this overwrap will fix that problem. Beauty, okay. Well, the 2-strand works just fine for what we're going for here, so that's good to know. It's my first one with these materials. I didn't normally like to do like a test fly just to make sure everything's going to work out before we jump on live, but in this case I'm just kind of getting her done. I used a hair more thread. I thought I'd get 2 flies out of that chunk, but I'll have to account for that next time. Alright, this part's pretty easy. You're just going to hold it up. Make sure your thread's where you want it tie-in point. Right smack along the top. And just keep some tension on it. Doesn't have to be crazy, but you want it tight. 2 wraps on it, keep tension. And, yeah, the bobbin's just going everywhere today. Then we'll pull it backwards. And just lock it in place there. 3 wraps. Yeah, this stuff's doing the whole flossy thing on me and separating, but that's okay. We only needed that top bit. Since we're putting a top wing on top, we can finish off our materials up top. You won't see the finishing points that way. There. As you can see, it blends in super nice, and having that tied in that way and then pulled back will stop the body from coming all apart on you. And it looks good. And from the fish's perspective, you can't see it at all. So, but yeah, you could use a piece of crystal floss, piece of wire to do that, thread, don't matter. Using the same material obviously gives you a little bit more bulk there, so. We're going to walk our thread back now and make a thread base. Got one little bit sticking out there, I just want to clean up. There we go. Like I said, haven't tied this particular fly with these materials yet, but I'm assuming this next part's going to be the most annoying. Just because squirrel hair is notoriously slippy. So I'm going to wax my thread up. We want to have it going. Where did I set the wax down? There we are. It's already wax thread, but I'm going to put some rosin on it. It's a little bit different than wax. I really need to make more up. Make it out of birch bark, pine resin, a little bit of beeswax. It's pretty much the same stuff they make for rosin for violin bows. So you can pick that up online. And this single, this is the first, I don't know, it's from the 70s, and I'm still using the same chunk. It lasts forever. So if you buy a small one, don't worry, it'll last you a long time. You're just using just a whiff. Alright, this one's been cut up pretty chunky, so let's see. I'm gonna try and get some of I wasn't the one that butchered this tail up this bad, but that's okay. Now you're gonna want to go for about the thickness of your body. Take a little more because you're going to lose some after you clean it and stack it. I normally like cutting my tails down really super close. But this is a second-hand tail and it's already got a lot of use out of it, but you can see how much the last tire left behind and all this under fur. I'd probably shave that off and make some nice squirrel dubbing out of it. Alright, so we want to make this the length of our tail. That's almost the length of what we got cut off. I'm going to have to grab farther up that tail to get some longer stuff for those bigger hooks. I'm just cleaning out the fluff here over top of my garbage can. This one isn't that bad. Every time I say that, I pull out another clump. Squirrel tail is cool stuff, but it's slippy as all get out for a natural fiber. It's almost like synthetic streamer stuff. Oh, I thought I said that. Sorry there, Glacier Shark. It's called sofa pillow. We're just gonna stack the hair here a little bit. Doesn't have to be crazy good because it's just the overwing. But we're gonna try and get those longer and shorter ends to kind of match up a bit so we can keep more of the bulk. And squirrel is a little bit ornery, but it normally stacks okay. See how we're doing? Beautiful, look at that. That's a nice stack. That turned out good. Well, I'm probably going to lose some hairs there. I see some shorter ones. Yeah, we do have some short ones that kind of slid up front that aren't going to be long enough to hang on, but that's a beautiful little color transition there. Happy with that. That's stacked nice. Hey, forget my first comment. You probably want to stack your squirrel. It looks a lot better. I'm being a little more picky than I probably should be out of this one here. Okay. That's a long hairway. I'm gonna need to get almost everything I can get out of this one. We may have to shorten it just a bit, or I'm gonna lose. Yeah, I'm gonna lose a good chunk of hair if I go much shorter than that, unfortunately. That's good. Traditionally, he tied these with a fairly sparse overwing, but I really like the look of a thicker overwing. I feel like that's probably about as long as I can go without losing too much hair here. I'm gonna have to grab on a thicker part of the tail, but we're just gonna go with that for kicks and giggles. Okay, to save aggravation, once you have the size that you want, pre-cut your squirrel. So we're gonna cut it here, give or take. Just gonna do it over my garbage so it's not so messy. This stuff likes to spring everywhere. And it did, so I'm glad I did that. Okay, so that is our length. That's our tying point. So trick with this stuff is you want to grab it midway, so you want to go about halfway up, and you want to work your thread in. See if I can do this and keep the right point here. I'm just going to turn it sideways and readjust. Yeah, like that. So we're grabbing about half of the squirrel, and we're going to bind that down. And we're going to do another wrap up the top and bind that second part down, and then just a loose wrap to hold it. Again, this is super slippy. Probably shouldn't let go like that yet, but did. And we're going to do one pinch wrap on top with moderate pressure. And one more to hold it. And this is where you should be able to let go and check your work. Beauty. Okay, that's right on top. Squirrel has a really bad tendency of flipping around the fly like hard deer hair almost, like spinning. So you want to keep it up top, and this way I don't have to worry about cutting those ends off. They'll be bound in there, and I'll use them as a base to do the to do the hackle. Excuse me here a sec, just gonna get a tea. Oh, that's good stuff. But yeah, that's tricky. That will definitely probably get you once or twice, and probably me a few times while tying these things. The rosin on the thread, and as you move back here, one wrap at a time, it will lock it in place. Let's see. Yeah, good, that stayed right on top. And I'm gonna end up losing a good chunk of the hair here. Unfortunately, it's just shorter. I probably should have judged that when I cut it off. It looked long enough to me when I did originally, though. Didn't realize how long that was going to be. Okay. But thankfully there's some good long stuff on this end of the tail, like, you know, no problem that we can make it that far. I was just trying to clean up some of the leftovers on the bottom that the last tire missed. Okay, I'm going to come in here actually and just lightly trim this because it went. I'm just going to trim back. That was close, almost caught a fiber there. Just to give myself a little bit more freedom on the head there. And we're going to bind those right down. And we're going to end up with a ledge here. So we're going to start the base on our head, and we're going to work our way back towards that ledge. It's important that we get rid of that ledge the other direction that when we made it. Your thread will slowly build a ramp up to it. And as it's building that ramp up, it will eventually get to the right height. If you do it the other way and try and kind of compress it down, not only does squirrel hair not compress worth anything, it'll just continually fall off and you'll drive yourself nuts. So don't do that. Stay sane. I'm gonna go about 3 or so thread wraps back from the hair wing, and that's where we're going to tie in our hackle, which I did not grab. Give me a moment, hopefully I got some handy here. Well, we're going to have to use what I got handy because that's what I got. All my other hackles in the closet, and I didn't grab it ahead of time, unfortunately. But since it's such an older pattern, it calls for, this is a saddle, and it called for, literally says in the directions, several saddle hackles, because it has a large saddle, or a large hackle area. If you got some modern genetic hackle though, just use one and just keep wrapping. But traditionally this is access to back in the 40s, 50s. This is actually a really old cape, it might even be from the 40s, 50s. So it's very accurate to the fly. Just trying to find one that's going to be roughly the size that we want. Sorry guys, like I said, I normally have this together, but I forgot to get the hackle together. Alright, we're gonna go with these, because that's what pulled off. So we got a good, I don't know, half dozen or so there. And we're gonna probably have to tie in 2 or 3 of these, I would think, to cover that area. But yeah, if you got some good genetic, new, modern stuff, feel free. I'm just gonna do it the old traditional way, where you're just gonna stack the hackle in. Basically just doing the same thing you normally would, just 2 or 3 times. Absolutely nothing wrong doing it that way, because that's the way they did it for like 40 years, and they caught lots of fish. Yeah, fairly sure you're not going to have fish come up and be like, that isn't genetic hackle, that's just not worth, that's not going to work. We're going to put the concave side towards the body. Get it in with about 2 or 3 good firm wraps, and I'm just going to tie down the rachis. I'll flip it over so you can see. I think I'm going to tie the second one in after we wrap and tie this one, just because I'm not quite sure how far it's going to go for us. After I do a few of these, I might be able to judge that, and then I could tie them in. You know, if I can get 2 in or 3, then I could tie them in ahead of time, just wrap them. I got a new to me, very old but new to me hackle plier I'm going to be using today. This one's actually one of my old Fly Time Mentors hackle pliers from the 70s. These style. I think Thompson probably originally made them, because they came with a lot of Thompson fly tying sets. I don't know if they just got them from the same manufacturer or not. So, no crazy special I'm going to bring my thread, before I start talking too much here, closer up to where I think we're going to finish, so I can tie it off easier. And yeah, I'm probably going to need 3 or 4 of these, because they're not going too far. But that's fine. I got a whole cape full, so as many as it's going to take. Come on. One fiber just going all haywire on me there. Huh. Yeah, I might go for 3 on this. Because it did have a really dense hackle. Not really sure why those couple fibers really just want to bend forward so bad. Come on guys, play ball. Oh, they're not going to play ball and they can disappear. You can always do that. Alright, let's go with number 2. These are all going to be roughly the same length. And he would have used this kind of light colored from your Rhode Island red chicken. Because that's what they would have had. Hey Dustin, haven't seen you in a bit, mate. Haven't been in the other streams a whole lot. Good to have you in. Oop. Okay, I accidentally cut my racus there a bit, so I'm just going to shorten that up, unfortunately. Just resharpen my scissors, and they're a little touchier than they used to be. That was kind of the point of resharpening them, though. Saved it. Got her. Alright. Let's get that guy tied in there. The most annoying thing about doing multiple hackles is trying to get them lined up. So just remember where your racus is starting and ending. And I'm just going to give up on these couple that keep going forward on me. And they're just going to end up where they're going to end up. They don't have good manners. Yeah, so we got some decent genetic hackle. I got some in the drawer down there, but I'm trying to go for, at least for my first couple before I start modifying it, to being as close to the way he would have tied it back in the 40s. And the recipe that he wrote down for his fly club was several saddle hackles, which I'm assuming means 3, because if he wanted 2, slipped on my hackle pliers there. 1 second, we'll get that wrapped up again. If he wanted 2, I think he would have just said 2. So I'm assuming he was using 3 or more. There we go. Alright, let's try that again. So we're gonna go for 3 at least here. Make it nice and thick and bushy. It slid down more than I wanted it to, but I think it got tied off anyway, so we'll find out in a second here. Okay, I'll go over the third one. And given the size of this fly, because it can be tied up to, and we're going to be going up to a size 6 to over there. Four times streamer was his original pattern. Between a 4 and a 6, that's what he was tying them on. So I'm assuming with the one that long and that big that he wasn't fishing that as a dry fly. He was maybe casting it out and starting as a dry fly, but that might be why he was putting so much hackle on the front. Because that's a lot of fly to try to float with traditional stuff. But I haven't actually fished one of these, so I'll let you know. I do not see why this wouldn't work tremendously though, to be honest. Oh, behave yourself. Alright, number 3. Yeah, the colors on this fly are awesome. I thoroughly enjoy the color palette with the squirrel tail and the crimson red, the bright red goose quill. But aptly named sofa pillow. It totally looks like I'm having so much trouble getting that in. There we go. Eyeballs are fighting me, I guess. Yeah, we'll try and finish it off with this last one here. Then I'm gonna clean. Okay, one second. I'm gonna try my other pliers here. Like I said, this is the first time using those ones. They seem to grab well. They're just I'm not used to the tension on them. Not used to this one either, but we're gonna go with it. Just bought these from Hairline, and the pliers I just pulled out now. I'll show you closer up later. I can't say I'm super impressed with them. I mean, they weren't expensive at all. I was just looking for some cheap rotary hackle pliers, which these are. But from the fit and finish, you can tell that they were. Maybe it's the feather. These are pretty slick. I'm gonna try biting it down the other direction. It feels like it's on there. I'm not sure why it's slipping out. Either way, I'll just be more careful and pay more attention to the rapping than the talking about my stories. Yeah, not that there's anything wrong with Indian manufactured items, but given the fit and finish of this thing and the materials, I'm assuming that's where it came from. But Hairline does import a lot of stuff. But who knows? It really could have come from anywhere. I'm just looking at the brass work and the woodwork on it, and it's like, yeah, you know, it looks like all the other Indian hackle pliers I have. Which, like I said, nothing wrong with that. Most of my tools, that's where they're from. And those guys spend their whole day working hard to make them for me, so I'm appreciative. But if you buy a US company branded thing, you generally expect it to be a little better. But that doesn't seem to be the way anymore. There we go. But yeah, just a few nitpicks with it. The spring part's fine. There's plenty of clamping force there. The edges weren't finished very well in there where it was stamped out, and they're quite sharp, so I had to take a nail file and just go over them because they were catching on my skin to that kind of scary part. You can see where it's just stamped metal. The brass bearing insert was fine. The wire looks fine. There's a small brass bead here that really could have been tightened a little bit so it's not as loose as it is. You can see here that the wood finish to the collar is not good at all. Like, that's an eighth or more sticking out. This side's fine, and it's glued in. And the hole's not centered. Again, not super big deal, but I was thinking the bamboo would have been a much nicer surface to grip on, and it's starting to wear in a little better now, and that's growing on me. But this, like the ledges and stuff, like here, I might actually take and sand that down because it does catch on my fingers quite a bit. Well, I was just expecting, you know, I haven't bought a new fly tool like that in a while. And I was expecting a little bit better quality on it, that's all. I'm going to try and pin some of these back. If they don't want to play ball, then we'll just bury them. We already started building our head there when we were creating the ramp. So we're really just tidying this up. And we'll create a little bit of a head and just an area to flatten off and whip finish. Traditional calls for a medium size brown head. That one little one, I don't know if it's picking up on the camera, but that one has been bugging me since we started. The hackle there. I don't know why it decided to go that direction, but it did. One of these days, David, you're going to see a streamer hook in my vise, and it's actually going to be a streamer, and you're going to be thrilled. But that day is not today. There we go. You know, overall, even though the overwing's supposed to be the same length as the tail there, I kind of like that, the way it angled off like that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That turned out pretty good. It's pretty. I have no doubt, especially on like brook trout and cutthroat, like this would just slay on brook trout. They love red like that. And it doesn't say what he was fishing for. I'm assuming trout of some sort, being in the area he was in. But it doesn't say exactly what species he was going after. I think he was mainly trying to just imitate the big stonefly. Also my first time using this particular thread. Not uni specifically, but their camel color. Pre-waxed 6/0. And I'm liking it. It's good. I haven't had any issues with it. Other than that first part, but I know better than to not cut my thread off like I didn't do. I'm just going to get rid of some of the sheds there. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with that. I think there might be a few things I'll change up on, but if you had some genetic hackle, you could definitely save on the triple wraps there. Well, there she is. Traditional. It's not quite 100 years old, but getting there. Sofa pillow. That red just pops, so that looks so good. That's a pretty fly. That looks a lot better than I thought it was going, to be honest. I might save this specific one for my own box, because that looks like that's going to work well. And I only got 3 of these specific size hooks. They're a weird... Well, they're not off-branded. I'm almost certain they're Mustang. They could be some type of Japanese hook, because there was a mix of really vintage old Japanese. I can't remember the name of the company off the top of my head. And a few others kind of mixed together in this box, so could be that too. But it does a lot remind me of the older Mustangs. Wish I could remember the name of that company, because they had a really cute kind of old vintage label on their box too. I like that. Thanks, Dustin. I like it too. What type of fur is on top? Yeah, you missed out on that, mate. Sorry, that's squirrel tail. That's a red fox squirrel tail. Boop. There you go. I cut some from way down here because the last tire that was using this, you can see how much fur they missed when they were cutting it off. Like, they missed a lot. They were, you know, not making it sparse. So I was trying to get a clump out of the bottom to kind of save some of it. And it ended up being just a hair shorter than what I was shooting for. But I still like it. Still think it turned out fine. But yeah, I was trying to get a patch from down here. See how much they left behind? Like, there's almost just in that one spot I grabbed, there's almost enough for another fly here. You can see how it's just a hair too short. So I'm gonna have to go a bit up the tail. Might do one more like this actually, just for myself, and it's a shame not to use that up. Yeah, we might save the top of that tail for for the bigger hooks, because I got some bigger ones I want to do these on. I'm just giving this a minute or two here for the lacquer to set. But yeah, that was red squirrel tail up top. And it didn't slip or it didn't bind on me. And that really went pretty well. And the tail stayed nice and right on top and square. So it looks right smack on. Yeah, quite happy with that one. Hey, it's Nate's Outdoors. Good to have you, man. We'll just give that a minute here just to finish setting. I'll grab the other hook. These are all roughly, these three anyway, are kind of roughly the same size. But they're all, I think they're three, I don't know if they're all from the same company. They're all slightly, just slightly off, just slightly different. So I just thought I'd use them up on these. So I don't really have anything else planned for them. I do really like my old vintage hooks. Okay, that should be good. Gonna pop it right next to these Mohicans here. And go hang out with its streamer friends. There you go, that's a sofa pillow. Let's get another couple going. Like I said, I'm just going to do these kind of random size. They're interesting because they're older. They got that bigger, completely round, it's not limerick. I can't remember the name of that off the top of my head. When you got that completely round bend. I think limerick's where it actually is flat and more on one angle than the other. Oof, that one's a little bent. That's better. Yeah, these are in an old pack. I don't think I have it handy off the top of my head. Hopefully everyone's doing okay. I mean, David and Glacier Shark were in here. I don't know if they're still in here or not. I was happy to have them though, either way. Here, I'm just gonna grab my one of my boxes of hooks here with my vintage stuff in it. Hopefully you guys don't mind, but I love old vintage hook boxes. And this one was really neat, so I haven't run across one. So if someone else knows something about it, let me know. Excuse me. Yeah, this is the one. So it was a Kirby's. I'm just going to do it sideways so we can fit it all in the vertical there. 100 hooks. Kirby hooks. I think these are Japanese. Does it say on here? Yeah, Japan on the back. So given the way that Japan's written there, excuse me, I want to say probably maybe 60s, 70s. I don't know if it would go later than that. You can see there was just a mess of random hooks in here. Even some triple barbs, which I could still tie with. But those ones came out of this pack. These three that we're tying on. But most of these in here really remind me of mustags. Like this guy. There's lots of really nice smaller nymphs hooks, so I'm definitely going to get my use out of this box for sure. And I love the old vintage hooks. It's just what I grew up tying on, so. Here's your traditional mustang hook box from kind of roughly the same time period. This one's got writing all over it. This was from Outdoorsman's Warehouse of $4.30. That looks more probably 80s to me with that, but they use these same boxes like into the 70s. There's some older ones in here. I know we're getting away from the fly tying and talking more about vintage stuff, but it tickles my funny bone. I like it, so I'm doing that. Speaking of which, so I got these guys, which are Key brand, which is Mustang, and they're ocean hooks. And I actually got these on Temu, believe it or not, and they're like legit thick, beefy, nicely coated, sharp as all get out Mustang hooks. They must have been like old stock. But I got a bunch of these, size 13, a couple different sizes, and they were like $1.50 a box. And they're definitely like Mustang. They're not like knockoff, because they're quality hooks compared to the other cheaper hooks. But yeah, so you can get good deals on Temu. You just gotta get lucky apparently and get some old stock stuff. It definitely didn't say that on the ad, but I thought that was really interesting when I opened up the package and I was like, whoa, these are like legit Mustang hooks. We're going to start the hook off right at our we're going to start our hook off right at our what are we at there? 1/3? Yeah, sure, we'll call it close enough to 1/3 to be 1/3. Make a slight thread base all the way down. Don't need to get every inch of it. We're going to stop just past the barb, but not too far so we're hitting the bend. And we're going to back up about 5 or 6 thread wraps. That's where we're going to tie in our quill tail. And it's going to be fussy on me. Now let me break. There you go. Off with your head. Alright. I get that? No, that's all wonky still. Oh. Really? One second, I want to get this hook straightened out first before we get going. Yeah, it looks better. I like that. That's better. Alright. Let's unwrap that. Back to our barb point. There we are. Where did my goose quill go? Here we are. Alright, so like I was saying at the first one, I'll just start over for people that are just coming in there. It calls for red goose or turkey quill, or you could use duck or whatever you got, it's fine. And you definitely don't have to use the best stuff you got, and you definitely don't have to use like what you'd use for a quill wing, because it's just tail and it's just a small section. And what I'm going to use to split this is just a pair of tweezers, and we're going for about half the gap height. And I'm just going to place the tweezers into the quill. That will size it for us. We're going to do the same on the other side. There we go. I've got 2 split quills. You can take them from the same side, you can take them from either side. It's not like a quill wing where it's going to matter all that much for you. So whatever works, whatever you got laying around, you're more than welcome to clean up your quills from doing another fly. Like these ones are all well used. It's a good way to get rid of the pieces you wouldn't have been using. And we end up like this, which is a little bit less than half of the gap. I think that was his actual terminology in the instructions, was a little less than half the hook gap. For typical quill wing, you're going to go with the full gap length. This one's got a little damage on it, but again, because it's a tail, that is not going to matter. And I'm just going to line these two. Give me a second to get them straighter. Sorry, the one with a bit of damage on it is being a little fussy for me. There we go. That'll do. I'm going to shorten the damaged side up just a hair. There we are. Just like that. Now I'm going to leave the quill end facing up instead of down in this case. Not sure which direction I did the other one. Yeah, it looks the same. Okay. Now we're going to go for 2/3 of the body length, so it's got a fairly good sized tail on it. I'm just going to bring that back up to the about 2 thread wraps from where we tied off at, just so we're not sliding forward. Let's get that size again. There we go. Okay, transfer it over. We're going to do a soft wrap up, catch it between our fingers. Soft wrap down with the thread. Come on, behave yourself. There we go. The thread ending in the same spot, and then we're going to pull straight down. This will pack them down. And then we're going to do one more wrap to hold it. It's going to behave itself. Come on. There we go. Oh, wow. That hasn't happened to me in a while. I actually cut through the actually cut through the quills there. Interesting. I wonder if they were damaged. Look at that. Wonder if I can still use them if I back them off of here. Let me give that a try. Not likely. If they were damaged, they're probably brittle. Give it a try, because it's not going to hurt anything. Did we get her? think we might have got them all except maybe one or two fibers there. I'm going to try backing up just a hair. Yeah, I think we got them all, but... Okay, well, that's going to do, because this one's going in my box anyway. And I can tug on them, they're not going anywhere, so... we'll call that good. Since these are broke, I'm going to actually trim them off back here. Before last time I trimmed them off up 2/3 mark just to build the body up, but I haven't had that happen in a little while. But natural materials, you will get some that'll fail on you like that. But she's still pretty. I'll make a nice little good tail, eh? That's all that matters. Still in there good. I don't know, Stardust, did you sell yourself a bit short? I think you could do just as well. I'm gonna get some new thread here. So the thread I'm using for the body traditionally was just a scarlet wool, is what the pattern calls for. I do not have a scarlet wool. I do have a very bright, very shiny, almost floss-like Antron. Or acrylic, sorry, not Antron. And it worked out really well for the first one, so that's what we're going to be using. I used more wool than I was expecting. I was thinking I was going to get 2 flies out of the chunk I cut off, and just finished up the one with a little left over, so we're going to go with that. And last time I split it, it's a 3-strand yarn, and I split it to take 1 strand the other direction. Sorry, my cat's playing with my squirrel tails. Can't blame them, they look like they'd be a fun toy. So we're just going to be splitting this. Allowing it to unravel. This is very much like floss, it will catch. Like it's doing a little bit there. So I'm hoping I can get a couple flies out of that 1 strand. The last one kind of failed on me. That's good. I got gobs of this. Got a huge shank of this stuff. So, since we weren't able to increase the body with the quill there, we're just going to bring this forward. Tie that in. We're tying this in at the kind of 1/3 mark, give or take. That's where we're going to start our quill wing. And this one I actually want to tie in right on top, all the way to the back. And without interrupting the tail, get as close as I can, and then that last wrap was a little too tight. There we go. And then do a really good job of securing that thread down, and then back up. Because we're actually going to use this to hold the body in place by doing an overwrap. Very similar like they do for Atlantic salmon flies. And that'll stop this slippery kind of Antron yarn from sliding down the hook, especially after casting or getting a few fish. And it just looks cool. But that's a method I picked up from a few Atlantic tires that do it with their butts and their tips. Now I'm going to tie a little ledge in here on purpose to help with the wing. The wing's going to come in about here. And I'm going to back tie this. Not super tight because we're going to be overwrapping it anyway. And the wing's going to sit in that location. That'll give us, what that's going to do is it's almost like tying in deer hair on top of foam or anything else where you have a little give. Since the squirrel tail is almost like a synthetic, it's extremely slippy and doesn't have much compression. This will allow a little compression there for when I'm binding the squirrel tail down. And it'll allow it to bind down without twisting and spinning around the hook on me. So don't need much, basically like, you know, a little bit more than the width of my bobbin, just the tying space where I'm going to be tying that down. And we're going to wrap the other two strands of this. Let me do a save point here with that thread. There we go. I really enjoy uni thread. It's just works so well. And we're going to go over that part all the way to the back. You can see that ledge I did there. I want to keep that ledge, but I don't want to necessarily have a step to it. So there we go. I think that did it. Unfortunately, as nice as this stuff is, it does catch and shred very easily like red floss. But it's super soft and almost luxurious. I caught the edge of my hook there just a hair. I'll try and bury that in here. Okay, you can see how if I go back here and I tighten that down, I'm interfering, hopefully you can see that on the camera, I'm interfering with the tail, see how it's moving? So I'm too far back in that case. So now I know I've gone far enough, I can back up half a wrap, stay away from that hook point, because it wants to eat my floss, or my yarn. Now, yeah, I could have used the rotary function on this, for sure. Hopefully your guys' side is looking as good as mine is. Yeah. That's the benefit of having the camera there, is I can kind of see both sides when I happen to look over at it. Okay, and then that area where we back wrapped at the front is going to give us that little bit extra purchase when we bind down on that squirrel tail, so it'll bite in and hopefully not spin. It is a really gorgeous red color. This was actually a marketed as a yarn for baby clothes. And normally when that's the case, like it's higher quality yarn, normally it means that the colors are really nice and I want to say steadfast, but that's not the right word I'm looking for. Color fast. Okay, so this should be right on top. And we want to pull on it, keep it tight. We're going to do 2 wraps. 2 wraps behind the lock. And just kind of gently roll it in our finger like that, and that'll take up all the tension. I'm going to actually use my thumb here. And back wrap. Just on the edge of it there. Hopefully you got that. And that'll lock it in, and that's not going anywhere. That'll stop. Now the whole body is actually under compression, and it will stop it from sliding either way on the hook. That is not traditional, but I think that will help. And I don't see a reason not to do it, so we're going with that. I'm just going to bury this little tag end here, if it'll play ball. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to bring our thread up to our tie-in point, which is back here. That will farther bind all that down. That's why we weren't too worried about binding this area down super well, because it's going to be, we want the compression to be there. Okay, that's good. You can see the top there. I think I turned it for you guys, but there's the top. Fish are going to be looking at it that way. What we're doing now, squirrel tail. Yep, here we are. Like I said, this one's got a few inconsistencies already, so I'm going to try and use up some of this hair that they left behind back here. I just don't have it in me to just let it go. And I think we have just enough. Try and get right down in there. I was a little short last time. There we go. Just give me a second, get rid of some of this fluff in my basket before we hold her up there. This stuff is static cling like nothing else. Alright. Dang, that looks pretty good without stacking it. That have to be honest, that's pretty good. It looked beautiful after I stacked it last time though, so we're still gonna stack it, but that's impressively decent. If you're tying a bunch of these or you just plain don't care about that part, feel free to just tie it in. No worries, Dusted. Whenever you get back, it's fine, mate. Okay, let's get this stacked. So I was using your regular standard stacker. Got in there. Just gonna tap it out. And squirrel typically will stack fairly well because it's slippy. That'll probably do it. Let's see how we did. Look at that. Yeah, that's beauty, eh? Look at that. That's a nice stack. I got one long rogue hair there, but I was saying last time, I was just surprised how well this stuff stacked. Kind of excited to get into that long hair at the top. Like, given the quality of squirrel fur like this, as it's or hair, I suppose. I'm surprised they don't make paintbrushes and stuff out of it. It has a really nice taper, like fine ends. It's stiff. It's slippy as all get out, so I imagine that would be good for, like, to me that would just make a wicked little paintbrush. But yeah, I don't know. I've never heard traditionally that they ever use squirrel for paintbrush. I know they've used mink and many similar other animals, but I've never heard anyone using squirrel. Alright, so my problem last time is this has quite the overwing on it, and this hair was a little short. So, let's see how far back I can go before I start losing too much hair. Yeah, losing quite a bit already. Again, I'm not shooting for exact pattern here. Traditionally, it would be all the way back to the wing there, or to the end of the tail. But I'm gonna try for about here. Or I'm just gonna lose too much hair. But yeah, for the bigger hooks, I'm gonna cut up higher on that tail. Just don't see a reason to let this go to waste if it's that close. Yeah, I'm getting quite a bit falling out. Okay, we'll tie it in and clean it up after. Okay, so what we're going to do is gauge it, and we're going to cut it before we tie it in. So we're not messing with it. That'll give you one less step that it has to spin on you. Even if you're close, you don't gotta be exact, but the less you're mucking with that end, the better. Alright, now we're gonna take this, turn it sideways because it's a little bit flatter. You can see it's wider this way than that way. I'm just turning it sideways, and then we're gonna push the thread through the middle here so it's halfway. And what we're gonna do is bind that bottom part down first with one simple wrap. Come back up and bind the top down. I'm just gonna do 2 wraps after to hold it, and you keep holding that on top. And I'm just gonna do a couple more because I can see some of the smaller fibers pulling out. Oh no! I'm not sure why that broke. I wasn't really putting much tension on it yet. Oh, that couldn't have broke at a worse spot. We'll see if we can save it. Dang. Yeah, This is gonna make a much thicker, uncontrolled body there, but oh, I really don't want to start thread right there. Let's see if we can get this going. Man, what a horrible place to break thread. I only got like 3 wraps holding that thing in there. And if we can make it work, it'll be fine, because we're going to wrap it a lot to pin it down, but whew, I think we did her. Look at that. Still on top, hasn't swung around. Whew, dang. Yeah, I'm losing a lot of hair, though. I'm going to try and wrap back a little bit further, see if I can save a little bit more hair. Yeah, that's probably all I'm going to do. I have to go back and watch the recording there and see. Yeah, you can see it's coming out quite a bit. It's just, they're just shorter hairs. That's okay. Traditionally, he actually tied this top hair wing on quite sparsely, like maybe half of what I got on there. So that's fine. I just like the look of it thicker. Oh, yeah, you're shedding. You are shedding. Alright. That squirrel looks pretty, though. That's good stuff. There we go. I'm actually a little bit surprised that we saved it like that, but we did her. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up making a ramp. Bury these ends in. That'll be our head down here. And we got this slow, almost like a salmon fly, all the way up. I'm going to do 3 wraps here, just to give me a good tie-in point for tension so this doesn't slip. It's right on top though. I mean, I'm happy with that. That's excellent for squirrel. I mean, look at that. It twisted just a hair to your guys' side, but I mean, considering the thread broke right at the tension point, ah, scary stuff. Alright, we're going to have a tea and relax from that tragedy. Hey, Crazy, how's it going, mate? Good to have you in here. And David's back. Anytime you hit a milestone, and I mean, like, I don't work for YouTube or anything, but just my experience and what I've seen from other creators is normally everything's about a week behind, like just like the same with your monetization page, right? Everything's about a week behind. So since you just hit your 500, it's probably going to be 6 to 7 days or so before it'll show up there. But it should just pop in. You actually get a official email from YouTube telling you about the community page, so you should just get it in your email that's linked to the account. But yeah, it should take you about give or take about a week from whenever you got your 500. And then you'll see it pop in there. I think I got to about 600 before I even noticed I had my community page there. I wasn't even using it, and I was like, oh, there it is. Alright, so we're going to do some old school traditional hackle. The recipe calls for several hackle. It's literally what it says. It's just several saddle hackle is what it officially calls for. So the last one we tied, I managed to get 3 of them in there, or it took 3 to get them done. And I'm just going to be taking them off the side of the hackle here, or the side of the... Come on, brain, use the word thing. Side of the saddle. That's better. I was planning on using a different... Oh, we got about 6 there. These are the ones we're going to be using. That way they're all roughly the same size. And I'm just cleaning off the hackle. Yeah, just keep an eye on it, mate. It should pop up. Should pop up at some point. It's kind of a cool feature, to be honest. I'm enjoying it lately. I've been putting a lot of posts up with some different fly tying books and stuff. I really should do more with it because it's handy. Alright, so we got that trimmed up. Left a little nubby end on there to tie in. These are the size I used on the last one, so I'm not going to bother sizing them because it's from the same spot, so it should be, give or take, relatively the same. And this one has like quite a dense hackle collar, almost like a stimulator, I guess. It's kind of like a pre-stimulator stimulator. It's very stimulating. See what I did there? I want to get the thread up to roughly the point where I think it's gonna finish off, so I'm a little easier to tie off there. And I'm just gonna go with my rotating hackle pliers because they worked better. I'm going to try and get this somewhat dense, but I know I'm going to be tying in 3 of these, so maybe 4. Let's see how it goes. Do. Now, this is a traditional way to tie it in, but if you got some decent genetic hackle and you can just keep on wrapping, and sure, do that. If anyone tells you that you can't, just tell them Nimby said you can. And just go with that. Alright, number 2. And we're going to place our concave side towards the fly. I got one hair there that's sticking out. There's one last fly too that was driving me nuts. I'm just gonna get rid of it now. It's probably just gonna get buried in there, but I like to try and keep my hackle clean. I'm just gonna bend the racus a bit so we're square. You can see we're nice and square. Yeah, sorry, this process is going to take a little longer with... Oh, really? Oh, okay. Actually, I thought my hackle pliers failed on me. I actually broke the racus there. Oh, that sucks. I'm probably going to get half a wrap less on that one. Try and get the... There. This is a... We'll call it aged. Well-aged cape. My guess is it's probably at least from the 70s. So it's a little bit on the brittle side. I'm not getting any more hackle out of that, so we'll tie it off here. I prefer to tie it off on the underside, but given it broke there, we'll just call it good. Yeah, I might be into 4 for this one. Just because of that one break there. That's good. Got a whole cape full of these things. Yeah, that should do. So, lost track. Is this 3 or 4? This must be 3. We might need a 4. Maybe not. That's not too bad. Let's just slide forward on me 1 sec. I'm just gonna add a little bit of rosin up there. There. Yeah, you know, I think we're actually okay with 3 there. I don't think I'm really going to gain much by adding another. It did bring it right up to the edge of the head there too, so can't really ask more than that. Come on, stay back. Ugh. Got a couple fibers that jump forward on me, but yeah, overall I'm happy with that. That was pretty good. Do this without getting my thread. Okay, so we're just gonna do a where's my bigger half hitch here? Come on, buddy, where you at? Okay, I don't see it. Just use my regular half hitch. Just wanted one I can push these few fibers back. But we're just gonna do it by hand. This might work. This one's really big, but see if it'll do the job. Not too big. Are you big enough? Ha ha! There we go. So what we're going to do is use the half hitch to push these couple fibers back. And the half hitch will actually pin them down and hold them there. See? Makes for a happy little fly. Just push it back. Pin them down. And you get a half hitch out of the deal. And it is just obviously made out of an old Bic pen with a Papermate tip. It's always nicer if you don't have this little ledge there and it's all one piece. Yeah, a combination of different pen tips can go a long way for half hitch tools. That is for sure. The first bunch of years I was tying, that's all I used was old pen tips. I didn't have any. I don't think I got this. Just gonna do one more up front here, just before we start the whip finishes. I picked up this one. Is it 92 maybe? 92, 95. Somewhere in there. So, geez, what does that make that then? 30 years old? Okay, we're going to try and whip finish this without punching any of those little spikers down. Get a few more that are sticking forward. I do. We're going to fix them after we get the whip finishes in. I'm actually going to throw just a real light rosin on here. Just to help it bite. Two, three, four. That'll work. Got more like 5 on there, but wasn't honestly counting all that well. Come on. Okay, cool. That worked out well. There's still a couple there that are annoying, so we'll get rid of those. And that is the sofa pillow. What a cool name for a fly. That's honestly a fun tie. I enjoy that. I'm gonna enjoy playing with this too and getting it to a pattern that I like for myself. And I do actually enjoy like building the hackle up like that. That's exactly the way they would have done it before they had all the fancy smancy genetic 3-foot long hackles that they have now. I mean, they would have had some capes that were nicer than what I got here, but this would be like your, you know, box standard, really nice looking. Not sure if I can get it in frame there, the whole thing. I'll show the top more than the bottom. You can see on the back, like the length on these, you know, hand width, give or take, a little longer. But this would be your standard kind of Rhode Island red saddle. It's a beautiful color though, and it's really nice. It's a cross between like a soft and a stiff fiber. I really like that. You can see how they wrap nice. Unfortunately, the rakuses are old and they're starting to get a hair on the brittle side, but I just gotta be mindful while I'm wrapping, that's all. But yeah, she's a pretty fly. Happy with that. Thanks, Dustin. I'm just gonna give the head cement a second to set in there. What a cool pattern though. Actually, I did end up getting that. Look at that. I got that smack on that time. Well, you're gonna become a thumbnail. Because you're actually tied correctly. And you're pretty. Tail up just a hair. There's a few kind of wispy ones up top here, but you know, I don't really want to get rid of them. I think they're fine. That bright red sure pops. That's nice. I like that. I just realized that I don't know if I kicked my camera a bit or what, but I'm a little bit out of frame, sorry. See if we can back it up here. That's a little better. See, we're still in focus. Yeah, good enough. Oh, happy I saved that one with the thread break there. And the squirrel tail stayed in. This is a nice squirrel tail. It's got a real nice band line to it on the back. Excuse me. I'm just gonna have a little bit of my tea while this head cement sets. Oh. You get into those, what were you talking about? They're crazy with the, I think it was squirrel tail zonkers we were talking about last time? Kind of same deal, I guess. And this stuff's pretty stiff, but I think it would move well in the water. Okay, well I got this pattern felt out pretty good now, I think. Those are the first two have tied, so I got one more on this weird size. Well, there's this two there. Those are pretty fly. I like those. They're really nice. I'm not really sure if I like the tail. I don't know if I like the tail hanging out better or having it clop, like having the overwing the same length. Kind of both have a up and down side, I suppose. Not sure which one I actually like better. We'll try for the traditional. I'm sure there's a reason he did it that way. Yeah, there should be gobs of squirrels in the fall. No, especially down south. There's lots of people hunting squirrels down there because they overpopulate. We don't have that problem here though. They seem to keep to their own little areas and have a good population size. I don't know what it is with my... Oh, it's my vise that's moving or the camera. Having trouble keeping it in frame. They're both stationary. I'm not sure what's going on. Alright, so that is a little bit high. This one is a little on the bent side there. Ah, you're in Kentucky. Cool. Where did I put those? I don't know if Crazy's still in here. 1 second, guys. And I'm back, just gonna let that scroll through here. Sorry, I just had to grab some. I don't know if Crazy's still in the chat. Hey, Crazy, if you're in there, man, let me know. I'm not set up, wasn't really set up to do a giveaway tonight, but I was talking to Crazy about this. I have a whole bunch of scientific angler floating fly line that I want to do giveaways for. My main reason for giving away fly line, I'm going to do a backing for it, hand make a leader, so you got a full set, so you got a fly line, backing, a leader. Main reason I want to give these away instead of my flies, I'll probably throw a couple flies in there too. One, I can ship them pretty easy, because they'll still ship letter mail. The other thing is, this is the biggest barrier for people that are trying to fly fish, is having a having fly line. Like, you can go to any sports store and you can buy a cheap fly rod that you can learn to cast on. It'll work fine for you for, you know, under 50 bucks. You can pick up old fly rods every day of the week, and especially old reels. I mean, a reel is just holding your line. You don't need anything special for a fly reel. Really, really don't. I have some really high-end fly reels, several $100s, and they're nice and all, but they don't do anything different than the $10, $20 reels that I used to. The last fishing video I did, I think I was running an old rusted Daiwa that was maybe worth 10 bucks. So you don't need an expensive reel, and the rod I was using too was maybe a $40 rod. You don't need an expensive reel, you don't need an expensive rod, but the stepping point that everyone seems to have is fly line and leaders and getting that part done, and it's a big hurdle for a lot of people to get over, especially going from spinning gear where it's really easy to set up, or they're just familiar to set up. So I want to give away some fly line, and I'll pre-tie the backing, and I'll pre-do up some proper tapered leaders that are hand tied, knotted by myself, and so you really just got to spin it on your reel, you know, tie a fly on, and you're good to go to start learning. These are nice and supple. It is a floating line. It is set as a, I can't remember if this was a 6 or, I have two different types. If it was either a 6 or up to an 8. But I've casted these before. They'll cast on a between a 5 and an 8 weight rod just fine. So I want to give those away. I'm not really set up to do that tonight, but I was hoping that Crazy could jump in there, because I know Crazy and Vilgrams could use a set of fly line. And there's many other people out there too that's a big stumbling block for them to get into the hobby, is to get a decent, you know, supple fly line that'll help them cast and learn how to cast. And everyone seems to be giving away flies, but no one's giving away leaders. So no, I didn't hear you talking about that, David, but it just seems to be like an ongoing sorry, seems to be like an ongoing issue with just a lot of people that have been in this community, right? Like, Vilgrams has been tying for how long now? A good long time, and like he just got his first fly rod and reel, and same with Crazy there. So like it just seems to be a stumbling, and they're not the only ones, and they're the ones that are passionate about it too, right? So there's lots of people where it's just a weekend thing, and that's a huge stumbling block for them. So I'm hoping I can overcome that for a few people and get some nice line sets out. Like I said, I'm just not quite ready yet to do giveaways on these, because I have to make up the leaders and spend some time doing that. I might do that in the next few days here. But I got maybe, I don't know how many sets of these I picked up. I think about 20 at least anyway. So we're going to do about 20 giveaways, so maybe one a week kind of thing until we get them all done. But yeah, hopefully that'll help my little community out, because you know, you can buy flies anywhere, you can make your own flies, but having a decent supple line to learn to cast on, and floating line in my opinion is the best way to go. I like this white because you can see it, but it's not a obtruse color that's gonna scare fish. But in my opinion, floating line's the way to go when you're learning, because your leader sinks, right? So you can use it as a sinking line, you can use it as an intermediate. You can, it's way more flexible than having a sinking tip line or fast sink. But yeah, for when you're learning floating line, because if you got a 15-foot leader or 20-foot leader, if you give your fly time, it'll sink down 15-20 feet. I got enough. I'm hoping that, you know, everyone that jumps in here is gonna get one, you know, by the end of everything. I wasn't really planning on bringing that up tonight at all, because like I said, I wanted to get them tied up and have them all nice and pretty and packaged and ready to go. But don't we all? And I also want to do the whole battle royale thing with these little avatars that you guys have on the bottom of the screen, and that's how I wanted to do the giveaways. Just thought it would be fun to have something a little different than, you know, using Nightbot or the many websites that are out there to spin and win kind of thing. And I thought that'd be fun. So we're going to do one more here before I run out of steam. I'm going to grab my glasses though. But yeah, with the amount of Vilgrams and Crazy and the other ones that I know that could really use these things jump in here, I think that they'll definitely have enough chance to get it without an issue. And honestly, if they didn't, I'd send them one anyway. But you know, anticipation is half the fun. Alright, so we're gonna start off with our quill tail. One second, everyone. My doggo wants to go out to the bathroom, so I'm just gonna pop up my screen here again. Only be a second. I'll be right back. There you go, bud. And we've been getting like some crazy rain lately. Just in general, which I'm actually really happy for because we need it. It's keeping the fires at bay. As in that we don't have any, which is the best kind of fire to have. So I'm just splitting these off using tweezers as a gauge because we're not going the full width. Oh, I'm sorry guys, I left the starting soon deal up here. There we go. Sorry about that. There. I think you've already seen this once already, but we're splitting this off. So we got 2 even splits. We're starting to get to the ratty ends here. I might even trim these. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are kind of on the same page with the giveaways there. I think that's... I plan to give away a lot of flies too, but... One second. Doggo needs back in. Come on, doggo. Come on, boy. Now these ones are starting to get a little ratty on the ends there, so I think what I'm going to end up doing, which I really could have done with the leftover bits from the last one, is just cut them up. So I'm just going to cut them on an angle here, just like that. Get rid of those damaged ends. I think that was part of my problem last time anyway. And this one here, I'm going to actually go a bit down even more, because it's not looking super healthy up top. There we go. That's a little better. Off by just a hair. I'm just trying to line them up. There. There we go, that's better. And we can always trim these too when it comes to it. So we're gonna do about there. And I'm just gonna move my thread back. So I'm about 4 thread lengths from, or widths from the end. Get that right on top of the hook. We're just gonna do a soft wrap. Biggest thing I have with soft wraps is always getting the thread back in the right spot, but I think I got her. Alright. And you keep your bobbin at like a 90 so you can get a good tension on the thread too. If you're pointing up, all your tension just going right down to your spool. So then we'll just pull straight down, compress it, and then get one more wrap in. The second wrap kind of helps to lock it and just stops it from spinning. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. That's like right on top, and it's square. So it's important to keep the tension on though. If you're not filming, don't let go. It's such a good looking tail though. And I don't tie quill tails very often, but that's nice. I like that. That's beautiful. I might even use up some of these extra quill ends. I'm pretty sure I could get like just by tying them in and cutting them off like that. So I'm gonna cut this one off. We're gonna go about here. There we go. Yeah, I bet you could totally. I'm just gonna lightly wrap this so it stays on top, so we're not spinning it. Beauty. There we go. Build a little bulk for that section of the body. Excuse me. Hey, Yoshi. Sorry, mate. Didn't see you pop in there. Yeah, the nice thing about red goose feather, I mean, you can get them on Temu, you can get them on AliExpress, you know, the only thing I'd caution with that is, like these ones are quality dyed, I think these were Vineyards, but if you get the cheaper dyed ones, you can generally tell, because you won't have this white showing up here when you're picking off when you're peeling them. The cheaper dye will soak into the quill a lot more, and it'll be all over your fingers as you're tying. So if you start seeing that, you probably want to at least soak them ahead of time, like overnight, in some just warm water for about 2 to 5 minutes, and then after you've soaked them for a little bit and they're basically just wet and saturated, then put them into some white vinegar, just room temperature. They only need to be in there for maybe 20-30 seconds or so, just saturate, and then just hang them up to dry overnight outside so they don't stink the house up like vinegar. Then you can rinse them off in the morning, and that'll fix the kind of cheap colorant that they use, especially for these like bright scarlet colors and yellows and that kind of thing. If you get some cheaply dyed feathers, that's one way you can kind of set the dye quickly anyway, or relatively quickly. You have to let it dry overnight. I guess you could use them right away, but they just would stink like vinegar, so you probably want to let them dry. You can heat set them too, is another way. If you have just below boiling water, you'd have to look up the temperature. I think it's close to, well, in Canadian, 85 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what that would be in American. What does your water boil at? I don't know. I'll have to refer to the Google. But yeah, you can bring it up just under boiling, and a lot of the dyes that they use for that will set too. But yeah, you'll know right away when you get it if it's a bad, or not necessarily a bad dye batch. It's just a lot of the cheaper quills that you get are going to be for, you know, party favor stuff or that kind of thing, right? Even some of the stuff you get that's labeled for fly tying, if it's made overseas in bulk and they're doing it in massive vats, then you're probably going to run into that issue. Okay, so we got a 3-strander here. I'm just going to remove the 1 strand. Just letting it uncoil here. Come on, you. There we are. I was just trying to avoid a tension knot. I'm going to finish up. You can see on this end, this stuff gets all fuzzy. I want to use this end that's still together. I don't like wasting material, but like I said, I got gobs of this stuff, so I'm gonna be a little less lenient on it. We're gonna tie this one in the full 2/3 back to the hook end. Such a beautiful red on this. Loving it. I went a little bit off center there. Let's try and get that to lay on top. Really, I guess technically doesn't matter as long as your last wraps are on top, but you want to get as close as you can to the tail without having it affect. There we go. That's better. Without having it affect the tail itself. Excuse me. Oh, I'm out of tea. No. Oh, water will save me. Sorry, guys. A couple hours of talking of starting to take its toll on my throat there. So for this one, we're going to basically be tying it back to not quite where I'm at, but about here. And tie it in there. Bring it forward, make sure that end's tied in well. And then, yeah, about like that. You want a boat. I'm using a different bobbin today, but I would normally say 2 bobbin widths. This one's probably, yeah, give or take 2 bobbin end widths. I actually went a little bit farther than I wanted to. We're going to soft tie this part down, so it acts like a little bit of a cushion for the squirrel tail. That'll act as a better tie-in point for it. Alright. Bring this up. We're going to do a save point there before we start wrapping. I don't know what it is with this yarn and wanting to wrap around my bobbin, but it's like the 2 of them are friends. Yeah, I mean, like if you get a set, and I've had some good luck off ones like off AliExpress and Temu and that kind of stuff. I don't have any problem buying material from overseas when it's natural stuff like that, because it's all natural. A bird's a bird, a goose feather or a turkey feather is a turkey feather. What you end up getting typically with your overseas purchases like that is you end up getting a younger animal normally, because they're also generally raised for the meat, obviously, or for other purposes. And then the fly tying is a completely separate thought process after the fact. Not a bad thing, it's just you have to know what you're getting. Okay, I'm gonna get that right here. I think is as far as I'm gonna get on that. So, since they're younger, they're gonna be smaller. And in a lot of cases, the fibers will be a little different. Like if you have an older bird, its fibers are going to be, I'm not really sure how to explain this. It's not like they're stiffer, they're just more mature. I hope that makes sense. So if you're getting goose feathers from, say Temu, let's just use Temu as an example. A goose feather is a goose feather. They're all going to be goose feathers. The difference with getting it from someone like Temu compared to Fly Fish Food or Stalkers or anyone else is they spent a good chunk of their life probably laying eggs first until they got to size, and then they became meat birds, and that these feathers are, you know, the bird's probably 1 year old, maybe 2 at the most, kind of thing. Or if you're getting it from, say, whiting, they might let their birds get up to 3 or 4 years old before they harvest them, because they want to have the premium feathers, right? They're literally just harvesting the birds for feathers. I'm sure that they still keep them happy and do all the bird things. I'm not actually sure. I did watch a little documentary on whiting farms and how they do everything, and I don't think they actually commented on how old their birds are before they harvest. I'm just assuming, looking at the quality of the feathers and having my own birds, they definitely don't look like they're yearlings or pullets or anything. But yeah, anyway, you're going to get younger material, generally speaking, from overseas stuff, which isn't a bad thing. You just have to know what you're getting. But if you're doing smaller dry flies, like say Royal Coachman wings or what have you, and you're just using white quill wings for that, they're perfect. Like if you're doing 12s, 14s, 10s, you know, that's exactly the size of quills you're going to get. So knowing that ahead of time, it's actually almost more efficient than if you went to a fly shop and bought, you know, 3 quill wings for $12 when you can get 50 of them for $4 on Temu. And the big quill wings you'd get from the fly shop are probably going to be too big for your fly anyway. You're going to be throwing out half of it because you're going to be trimming the back end off. So yeah, just knowing that ahead of time and using it to your advantage will save you some trouble. I have no problem buying material overseas because they're all the same animal. There's certain times where you want to buy, I wouldn't say not overseas, but there's certain materials that you need that age difference, and that's why I would buy them. And I'm not going to say locally, but just specifically for fly tying. And one of those would be like turkey quills for wrapping a quill wrap dry fly, like what they have for Magpie Materials. Because he gets those from, what's the name of the company now? Spirit something. And they specifically let their birds get older, and that's where you want that age difference so that you get the length, the thickness, the maturity of the quill so you can have it long enough to actually wrap the body. And not that you can't make the Chinese stuff work, but or the overseas stuff work, but it's shorter, so you know you're probably gonna have to use 2 quills like I'm doing here for the hackle up top. You do the same thing. So it'll still work, it's just, if you're looking for the best material, that's the major difference, really. And of course, anyone that's selling you that stuff is going to tell you different, because they're trying to sell it to you. Unless you're doing something very specific, like even something like peacock quill is all going to be like the same for the most part, unless you're wrapping something like the poofs on a salmon fly body where you need to have nice thick poofy hurl so that it'll, you know, give you the nice contrast between the sections. In that case, you'd want to, you know, search out some nice peacock eyes or what have you. Try and look for some more premium material. Brain went blank here. Here we go. Squirrel tail. What a lovely red, eh? It's like a nice, like, almost looks tasty. It's a color that looks like, you know, it's cool. I like it. Okay, we're gonna try and get a slightly longer batch this time. See if I can manage that. I'm just gonna get the first part of this cleaned up over my garbage can. squirrel tail almost reminds me of like my old Dalmatian's fur. It's like very quill-like and hard and sticks into everything. Hey, Glacier Shark, you're back. Hopefully you had a good day out today. Yeah, this will probably be my last one, I think, tonight. I was going to switch over to the bigger hooks there, but... Oh, Glacier Shark, if you're still on here, mate, I latched into some really cool stuff that I'm excited to tie for you for tube flies and streamers and stuff. I got a really nice set of it's vintage, but I mean it's older time material, but I got a bunch of polar bear hair to make some killer streamers and stuff. I really like working with polar bear. It's amazing stuff, but it's just really hard to come by now. Good stuff anyway. But yeah, you'll actually use them, so I don't mind tying them up for you. I just gotta get some size 6, I think you said you use. I can make some smaller ones for the streams and stuff too. But yeah, nothing beats like natural polar bear hair. It has a really cool property where it's basically like fiber optics. It's the reason they look white is it's actually drawing the light and in essence the heat to their skin, and their skin is actually black to keep the heat in. But the hair is, it looks white, but it's actually more like a translucent, almost like monofilament. So it doesn't take dye all that well. I do have a bunch of different colored dyes for flies for it, but in the water it is awesome. It's just, I don't think they have a synthetic that does anything justice to it. So I'm excited to do you up some flies with that. So it's been years since I found some good local polar bear. But unfortunately, there's a gentleman close by here that harvests and imports the polar bear hair, and he's retiring, so he had a sale on all the stuff he had left over in his stock. I had a few longer fibers there, but I think I'm just going to let them go. Hopefully this is going to be long enough this time. Yeah, I don't have any at hand here. All my fur's behind me in a wooden trunk, and I'm not going to dig it out at the moment. But next time I get at it, I'll grab a piece of polar bear, and you can see that the skin is actually black. And that's actually one of the ways they survive in the Arctic up there, is they can funnel that UV radiation or heat right to their skin, and they still can have the talking and trying to pick fur out at the same time. That way they can still have the white fur for the camouflage. And the fur actually acts as a fiber optic to just literally pull the sunlight from all angles, and they can get the most warmth they can and still be completely white, which is really cool, to be honest. But yeah, because of that, because of the fact that it's, well, not made that way, but just that because of the material being the way it is, it reflects light just like a flasher almost. Like it has its that same quality like that the scales on a fish do when they reflect light. And you can't get that with a synthetic. So I'm excited to do up some of those streamers for you with some of that mixed in with some bucktail and stuff. I'll look up some decent patterns for it. But yeah, and it should be like it's extremely durable fur. Like it's almost like this squirrel tail. I would imagine they'd last you quite a while. They're way tougher than synthetic stuff. Okay, that's probably about right there. Ooh, that's a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be. Okay, let's retrim that. I was able to get some nice chunks off them. I don't have much for the colored stuff, but I have enough. But some of the other chunks I got off of them were like 3 by 4 foot sections, so that's money. Excited about that. But yeah, I'll let you know when I'm all set up for that. I need to dig in my streamer and salmon hook stuff. Make sure I got the right size hooks for you. And then do up the tube flies. Oh, man, I went like just a hair too long on that wing. It's sitting real nice too. I really don't want to retie that. I think it'll be fine. I mean, like, we're only over by a couple millimeters there. I think I'm better to just leave it how it is. These are just going to be for my own box anyway. I'm just going to lightly, if it'll catch, I'm going to use a little bit of rosin here. So this is the same rosin I've been using. It broke in half. I don't know where the other half went. It's floating around in my fly tank and stuff somewhere. But even though it broke in half, I've been using the same one forever. That stuff's from the 70s. It was my dad's before, and I'm still using it, so come on. So even with the rosin on it, it's just popping. Alright, so we're going to start down here and start building up our ramp up to the head there. I should have probably cut a little bit more off that, because that's going to be a bit of a steep ramp. Well, I mean, it could have broke at a worse spot like it did last time. That's probably one of the best spots it could have broke. Fortunately, it means my head's going to be a little thicker. But like I said, this is going in my box, so don't much care. There we go. And I was explaining before about how if you don't start from this way up, you'll just constantly be dropping that edge. That's kind of what's happening to me right now. Not the breaking part, but actually I'm happy with how that turned out. It's actually better than I was expecting. You see, you got a nice flat spot there to put all that hackle on. A little bit of a ledge, and then spot for my head right there, ish. It's kind of tight. Would have liked to go back about a millimeter there. What a pretty fly, though. I like this pattern. I'm really happy with it. Oh. But yeah, Glacier Shark, you've been putting the work in. You're out there hoofing it. And your streams have been super entertaining. I've learned a lot. Bluegill flies. Sorry, just catching up on chat here. Oh, you mean you got some sorry there, Glacier Shark. I didn't notice your comment there. That I'm assuming you were meaning like an older guy gave you some polar bear. If that's true, that's really cool. It's special stuff. Like it, I will only use it for flies for people that I know are gonna respect it, because it's a special material. I have a lot of respect for those animals. Not only because they're dangerous as all get out, but they're just amazing creatures. If not, like I said, scary as all anything. I mean, we get lots of grizzlies up here, but I think I'd be way more tweaked out by a polar bear than a grizzly. Because the grizzlies we have here will eat almost anything, but polar bear only eat meat, pretty much. So they got that big just off killing things. They are definitely an apex predator in every way. Alright, one done. I think we're gonna go for 3 like we did for the other 2. Oh, you're taking tomorrow off? Yeah, to be honest, man, you probably deserve more than the day off. Did I see David's leaving? Oh, night, David. Sorry, man, I probably missed you there. I'll catch you next time, though. No worries. Sorry, my chat windows, or my chat monitor's up a ways from me, so I will like to try and fix that problem at some point. Get it closer so I can read it easier. I can read it fine, I just can't read it while I'm looking at the fly. Which is what I'm doing like 90% of the time, because that's what we're doing. Yeah, I'd like to set up and do more of the giveaways and stuff. I want to do that for a while, and I'm working my way up to that point. Probably should just jump in and get it done. But I didn't post anything about a giveaway and wasn't really set up for it tonight, so tonight is not the night, unfortunately, for anyone that was excited about that. I know people really do like the giveaways. Honestly, like, really, I enjoy reaching out and all that part more, to be honest with you. I'm going to cut this one just a little short here. Probably could have got a top wrap on it, but want to have enough of that head so I'm not sliding off for the next one here. And let's get one more wrap on there. Trying to keep my thread wraps down because this is going to be a tight spot, but I think I can do one more. There. Let's turn it sideways here. You guys can have a side view for a second. I need to put a little more effort and restock my Etsy shop too. It takes so much time to do all the photos and descriptions and everything though. That's good, I'll get to it. This one's kind of damaged, so I think I'm gonna end up cutting off some of the one side of this quill anyway, because I don't really need a full one. Yeah, there. I just made a bit of a bald spot there and pulled some of the damaged stuff out. It's going to be on the inside of the wrap anyway, so it's really not going to make any difference. I don't even know. Ooh, dang it. That was close. Oh no, I did go too far. I was just going to say, I think we'd... Okay, let's back wrap here. That was 100% on me. I didn't do a half hitch like I normally do. Dang. Oh well. That's fine, we got one whole extra wrap here. This will just be tighter up top, and then I'll get the other one down below. That was all me. I just smacked my bobbin. Shows you how little tension you need to hold a hackle in, though, really. Okay, so we're gonna tie you in a little bit higher, so I got room for the second one. That was unfortunate. It's all ready to put that last hackle in too. That's okay. I'll get her done. Actually, probably worked out better considering I will get the whole hackle in now instead of just half of it. Yeah, I very much want to play with the whole avatar thing and have that work out with the giveaways. I think that'll be fun for everyone and fun for me. I like little avatars. I think they're cute. Gives everyone a little personality too. Okay, let's get this last one in. And that is the joy and benefit of live fly tying, is you get to see all of the mistakes and how to recover from them. That's just as important as anything else. Because everyone, don't care who you are, everyone gets thread snaps and breaks and everything else. Try and get this. Come on. There we go. Just want to get that last wrap in there. Get this one nice and bushy. Oh, come on. I am wrapping this a hair closer to the hook eye than I normally like to, just to try and get that last wrap of hackle in there. But I think it'll turn out okay, fine. Let's get this out of here. That broke off nice, okay. Just gonna try and pull this hackle back a bit and see if I can get a nice thread head on there still. Yeah, that actually worked out well. There we go. Alright, just gonna throw 1/2 inch in to save it, and then we'll get some whip finishes on there. Oh, come on now. Oh, you start jumping around on me right when we're at the end here. Really? Okay. 1 second. Let's get the old fateful Bic pen out. I do have a little fray in my thread there too, I noticed. Which probably isn't helping anything. I'll just be gentle. Once we get some head cement on that though, it's not going anywhere. That's a beautiful fly. I like that. That's really nice. Yeah, I tell you what, Glacier Shark. When I get your little box done up, I'll send you one of these too, because I like these things. That might be one of the bigger ones. I don't know if it'll be one of these three, but I think for like the creeks and stuff that you have up there, like you said, for culvert fishing or whatever, something like this would be great for like the brook trout or grayling or that kind of thing. I think it would pop off there. Anything red just excites, you know, anytime you're in a stream where you get salmon running or whatever, anything that red color seems to just work so well. But yeah, I'll definitely throw one of these in. You can let me know if they work okay for you. Come on now. There we go. Just a couple hackle hairs that are going left and right. And a little bit of that squirrel creeped up when I tied it down, but there's still plenty of room in there for the line to go through. Beauty. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's good. The eye on this hook is slightly bent. But I mean, it's probably older than I am, so I'll give it a break. Got one small fiber up top here too I want to get rid of. There. There we go. Almost 100-year-old pattern. 80 anyway. What a beautiful fly. I mean, it's simple too. There's not really much to it. Besides the quill wing tail, I think it'd be a durable as all get out. Like, you'd get quite a few fish off that before it got tattered to the point where you'd have to question to throw it back a second time. I like that. That's good stuff. Yeah, that turned out pretty well. I'm happy with that. Yeah, I'm gonna turn into Dustin. I'm gonna help wife with a little bit of the housework here, and then probably head to bed. You guys have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks, Dustin. Thanks, Glacier Shark. Crazy if you're still there. David, I know you took off already. You guys all have a good night, eh? Appreciate it. Yeah, Cutthroat, Rainbow, Dolly Varden. Dolly Varden are fun. I know a lot of people don't like them. I sure do, though. They fight really good. Yeah, good night, guys. Enjoy your day off, Glacier.